Welcome, everybody. I don't know, Facebook is having some technical difficulties. This kind of is like a repeat of Friday night when I tried to do What's the Buzz at the Hive with Bobby. We ended up doing that about 2-3 times until we were finally able to go live. Anyway, welcome to b.hive Productions Apocalypse Humpday. We are on night 23, I believe, and we are getting very close to the end of this book. We're reading my zombie novel, Zechariah 14:12, Humanity's Last Stand. We are on chapter 2, or 22 tonight, not chapter 2. So, anyway, last time we left our survivors, Kris and Brent, Hal and Kyla escaped a cult. They escaped them out of the house, out of Hal's house. Hal got shot, and we lost Hal. So they are almost to the Moon Valley County Fairgrounds, and then they ended up getting into an accident and tipping over on their sides. So we will be joining Len, who is at the Moon Valley County Fairgrounds, and we're going to start a rescue effort to rescue his wife and her friends. So, because we started late tonight, I did have a gig out there in Lafayette tonight for bike night. It was bike and car night in Lafayette, Minnesota, and we played for a couple of hours out there. That was a lot of fun. So, but I am pretty worn out, and it is pretty late, especially for some of you out there in the other time zones. So I'm going to go right into the story, and tonight is chapter 22. Todd Shoemaker had operated a ham radio since he was 17 years old. For all the drills he had run with the emergency preparedness agents, he never once dreamed he'd be at the helm of a safe zone while the rest of the world was going to hell. CQ. This is Whiskey Zero Kilo X-Ray Papa calling CQ, came a female voice across the radio. Todd had recognized the call sign, but the voice didn't match. W0KXP was male, named Hal Iverson, and it was clear to him that this was not Hal Iverson. Whiskey Zero Kilo X-Ray Papa, this is November 0 Kilo India Papa, over. Oh, thank God. The voice was desperate. I need to talk to Len Emerson. Is this the Moon Valley County Fairgrounds safe zone? Affirmative. Who is this? His wife, Kris Emerson. We need help. I'll see if we can find him. Please stand by. Todd looked up at one of the other civilians standing in the radio room. Eddie, he said, find Emerson. His wife is on the radio. Jesus, man, Eddie spat. What are we, the main switchboard? Just do it. It's an emergency. Eddie found Len having dinner with his kids. They were eating army rations and playing a game of blackjack. Hey, Emerson, Eddie said, aggravated. You're wanted in the radio room. Is it Mom? Lee asked. I don't know, kiddo. I'll go check, Len said, putting his cards down on the table. I want to come, Catherine said. Just wait here, honey. I'll come and get you in a bit, and you can both talk to her, okay? Catherine pouted, and Lee gathered up the cards and shuffled up another round for her and her sister. Kris? Len spoke into the microphone. Len, how are the kids? Good. They miss you, of course. But how are you? We don't have time, Len. The ambulance flipped off the road on the way out to the fairgrounds. We're pinned here, and we can't get out because those damn things are just outside waiting to eat us. Shit, he said to himself. Okay, sit tight, hun. I'll come out there to get you. Where are you? On County Road 9, I think. We're about 1.5 miles south from you in the ditch on the east side of the road. I'm going to come out there, honey. Just hang tight. Hey, Chuck. Good to see you, buddy. This is kind of weird. I get to see these on live times. Todd grabbed his arm. They'll never let you leave. I've got to help them, Len said, and pulled his arm loose and went out to the commons. Can we talk to her now? Catherine asked with a smile so large it broke his heart. I'm sorry, honey, but Mom had to go, he said reluctantly. Catherine lowered her head and her brows creased. But I've got better news, he thought fast. I'm going to go and get Mommy and bring her here to us. They both sat up straight with big eyes and big smiles. But I need you two to stay here. I need you to behave yourselves and listen to everything they tell you to do until me and Mom get back, okay? But Lee knew her father's answer, but said it out loud anyway. We want to go with you, Dad. We don't want to be alone. I know, kiddo, but I can't risk you two being hurt. You better come back, Catherine demanded, and you better bring Mommy back. I will. He kissed them both and looked for Doble. Doble was in the armory cleaning his M16. He saw the look in Len's eyes and almost knew what was on his mind. Heard from your wife? He said, not looking up from his rifle. Yes. How did you... She in trouble? Yes. How are you... So I reckon you want to go and get her. I'm going with or without you, but I really need you with me on this. They aren't going to be happy about this. You know that, don't you? Yes, but they're only 1.5 miles away from here. Doble handed him the M16 and 3 boxes of ammo. Let's go then, he said, walking towards the door with him. But won't they? Already arranged it. They're giving us 30 minutes to get out there and get back. Think we can do it? Guess we'll have to. That's the spirit. They made it out to the Humvee and went out the west gate. There were no deadheads roaming about, and they had a clear path down County 9. When they got to a 4-way stop, the carnage was worse. There were hordes of the infected shambling around abandoned vehicles. Some were feeding on the dead, both human and animal. A pack of wild dogs were trying to attack the deadhead, but then some of the infected would get a hold of them and begin to eat the animals. It's a dog-eat-dog world, Emerson, Doble joked. Hand me those binoculars on the dash. Len handed them up to him. You see them? Len asked. Yep. It's amazing they survived that crash. Shit. We got our work cut out for us, Len. All entrances to the ambulance have been damaged. I don't think they're going to be able to get out. But nothing can get in either. We're going to have to cut them out. Len began to negotiate the Humvee around the wrecks on the road. He had run over a few of the infected, but they went under his wheels without protest. It almost sickened him hearing and feeling their bodies crunching beneath the weight of the vehicle. They stopped 10 feet from the ambulance. He wanted so badly to honk the horn to let them know he was there, but he thought the noise might bring more of those things. There were 18 of them surrounding the ambulance, clawing to get in at the food source inside. We're going to have to draw them away, Doble said, lighting a cigarette. I guess I'm it, Len said. Instinctively, he grabbed for his lost hammer. Then he felt a nudge from behind him. Here, Len. Doble was handing him a stainless steel hatchet. Len got out of the Humvee and walked to the edge of the road. A few of the deadheads that were trying to get into the ambulance looked at him and began to trek up the small incline. He could hear a young girl screaming from inside the ambulance. Len's undead admirers turned to go back to the ambulance. Hey! He yelled. Over here! They turned back to him, and a few of their friends joined in. Shit, Len muttered. Easy, brother, Doble said. I've got you covered. Len looked back quickly to see Doble had his pistol aimed at the approaching group. The first one groaned and reached for him. He dodged its grasp and buried the hatchet in the back of its skull. He kicked out at the next one, and Doble popped a hollow point through its head. Len walked backwards, trying to draw them away from the ambulance. They followed him with desperate hunger. Doble holstered his pistol and grabbed a crowbar from the back of the Humvee. He hopped off the back and made his way down to the ambulance. The back doors were wedged too tight. It was on its side, so he climbed up and attempted to pry open the side door. As Len was backing up, he heard growling from behind him. He quickly looked back and saw there were 2 dogs. One was pulling a piece of meat from a deadhead that was trying to crawl away from it and its partner. The other dog was standing guard and growling to warn Len to keep away from its meal. He looked in front of him, and one of the deadheads, a teenage female, that had lost most of her face and left shoulder, was about to close in on him. Chuck's getting the badgers ready. Molly Hatchet. We could call the hatchet Molly. He swung the hatchet, and it landed in her cheek. The hatchet stuck there, and he couldn't pull it back out. She hissed at him and tried to make purchase of his coat, but he kept her at arm's length from him. He swung her around, and she fell to the ground in front of the dog, keeping guard, and it immediately tore into her. He put his boot on her skull to try to remove his hatchet, when another infected grabbed a hold of him from behind. "Shit!" he said again. "Doble!" The 2 went to the ground, and the female tried to grasp him as she was being feasted upon by the dogs. The male deadhead on top of him was snapping its teeth in his ear. He rolled into the shoulder of the road, and the infected eater loosened its grip. "Son of a bitch! Doble!" He scrambled to his feet and saw that Doble had nearly taken the side door off. He pulled out his knife and stuck it into the male's throat, cutting off its triumphant roar. He then pulled out his pistol and began shooting at the oncoming rush of deadheads. As Doble bent back the metal side door of the ambulance, a gloved hand holding a Glock greeted him from the opening. "At ease, soldier," Doble said, backing up. "We're here to help." Brent popped his head up from the opening and looked around. He pulled himself out with Doble's help, and then he yanked Kyla up. Kris emerged last with a few lacerations on her face. Len had kicked the hatchet out of the female's head and picked it up after shooting 2 more of the hungry infected. "Len?" Kris spotted him as she emerged from the crashed ambulance. "Len!" "Kris?" Len looked, and his eyes immediately filled with tears. He dodged another infected eating machine and laid the hatchet to another. He swerved around the female being eaten by the dogs, but then tripped as the dog latched onto his ankle, and he fell. "Len!" Kris screamed. Doble ran over to where he had landed and began shooting every undead attacker he could put a bullet in. Brent followed up behind him, doing the same. When Doble got to Len, everything around him had been dispatched, including the dogs. Len lay in a mess of blood and guts, but he was still alive. "Len, you okay, man?" Doble asked, helping him up. "I got bit," he said sadly. I fucking got bit." "Shh, come on. We got your wife, brother. Let's get her back to your kids." "Leave me alone, Doble. My name is Hank. Call me Hank, and I'm not leaving you anywhere." "Where's Kris?" Kris hobbled over to him. "Hi, baby," he smiled with a single tear dripping down his face. "Hi, Lenny." How do you not lose your voice? I'm getting there. I'm getting there, Bobby. "Hi, baby," he smiled with a single tear dripping down his face. "Hi, Lenny." She tried to stop her tears, and she hugged him tight and close. Guys," Brent spoke up, "we may want to continue this reunion in the Humvee." There were more deadheads closing in on their location. "I got bit, honey," Len said. I'm sorry." She let him go and assessed his body as quickly as she could. The blood on the upper part of his body wasn't his. Most of it was from the infected and the dogs. The blood on his ankle, however, was his. There was a bite mark on his ankle that looked more canine than human. "I think it's just a dog bite, Lenny," she said with a half smile. "Come on," Doble said, picking Len up. "They're getting closer." Brent got into the driver's seat, and Kyla rode shotgun. Kris and Len sat in the back, while Hank manned the .50 caliber machine gun. And that, my friends, is the end of chapter 22. Yeah, so everybody is reunited now. We did lose Hal. Yeah, so we lost Hal, we lost Dave, and we lost Chris's mom. And yeah, so, and now Len is bit by a dog. And because the dog was eating one of the infected, we may not know if he could get infected or not. So, you'll have to tune in next week. Same channel, and hopefully Facebook is done with their issues. So, but yeah, we'll tune in next week. We'll do chapter 23, and we are actually going to be checking in with the President of the United States next week, I believe. Let's see. Yep. Boom, boom, boom. Yes, we're checking in with the President next week. So, anyhow, if you missed the gig, Bobby Paulson, who is now our drummer, had gone live on his channel and sent me a copy of the live video, so I posted it on the b.hive page. You guys can check that out. It was a pretty good gig for a bunch of guys that just practiced one night. So yeah, it was fun though. But I think we're gonna start doing this a lot more, which should be pretty cool. So, what about the Pope? The Pope is eaten. Yeah, pretty much everybody that was in power that didn't have an escape plan, they've been eaten. So, yeah, they became part of the Last Supper, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, we'll check in with the President next week. I'm thinking we just have probably about 4 or 5 more chapters left, and then we are done with this one. Hey, Dwayne, how you doing, man? Yeah, then we're done with the book, and then after that, Stephanie has agreed to read the sequel. It's a short story sequel, so yeah, and we'll hear from that. We'll get to find out what happened to everybody in the book. So yeah, alrighty. So thank you guys again for joining me. Sorry I had to do this from my phone. But yeah, I'm getting this. This is what I'm getting on Facebook from my laptop. Is service unavailable. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that's about. So there's always something that's trying to stop me from doing what I'm doing. But by God, I'll get through it somehow. So yeah, my voice is starting to leave me. So, and I'm getting pretty tired. But it was very good. I'm glad I made it here to see you guys. And we'll be going back to Tunes on Tuesday next week. And don't forget Apocalypse Humpday. Also, don't forget, we also do on Sundays, we're doing coffee with friends. So I just did a photo dump last Sunday because I woke up super late. But maybe we'll do a live stream on Sunday so that we can chit chat over some coffee. So it should be good. But hey, good to see you guys. Bobby, you did really well tonight. So it was good. Can't wait till we play again. Chuck, thank you very much for coming, like you always do, and bringing your badgers. I appreciate it. You have a good night as well. Dwayne, I hope you're doing well, and I hope you don't have to pass any more of those little shards of glass, man. That sucks. It really sucks. But anyway, thank you guys. Steph, thanks for showing up, and everybody else that's here that didn't chime in but is in the background watching. Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. Have a great night. Deuces. Mwah. Later. Now, how do you... Okay, finish.